Embracing the football scene on the Rock of Gibraltar with Adam Roberts and Steve Brown.
Well, good evening, welcome to the Gibraltar Footie Show, Week 8. I think it's Week 8. Please remind me, Adam, if it's Week 8, please.
Yeah, we started, I think it was the second game of the first division. So if you're ever in doubt, just gotta look at how many games each team have played and just subtract it by one, really.
Yeah, it's absolutely flown by, or it seems to have flown by. It's been a fantastic start to both the Premier and the Second Division this season. Yeah,
it's been an interesting 2 seasons. I wouldn't say it's been one that there haven't been a lot of games which I've gone down, enjoyed watching. You know, you've seen a lot of these thrillers, 4-3, 5-4. Every game you wish it's something like that. But really, I don't think any game is really set alight. You're going into matches half of the time knowing who's going to win, or if anyone does win, it's like 1-0, 2-1. You know, one of those like dull games. So hopefully, after the 2-month break, there's something much better.
I know, but doesn't that make it better quality of football? The fact that the sides are evenly matched, you know, and there's not one. Okay, we look at the league table and we see Imps, you know, flying high at the top of the league. But apart from Imps, everyone else in the top 3 or 4 positions, it's pretty tight up there.
Yeah, but then I just think the level of the football is not as it once was. You're looking, every team has gone through a really tough batch of games. You look, St. Joseph's, they were winning, but again they haven't been as good as they were last year. Gibraltar United, we know they started so well, but the last 3 games they've picked 1 point from 3. And the other teams, again, it's just been poor form and they've struggled.
What do you put that down to? Are the same players still playing the game, or is it just a new batch of players coming onto the Rock and maybe not, you know, setting the world on fire?
To be totally honest, that's a really good question. I looking at it, I don't really know the answer to it. You've got me on that one. Don't know the answer.
Or is it a coaching thing where, you know, it's become more, the game on the Rock's become slightly more tactical, where once of a time it was like gun on, let's see who can score the most goals.
Yeah, I think right now, looking how things are, you almost feel as every team is so doesn't want to concede, so they're not really going forward. You know what I mean? It's one of those where they're scared to go forward just in case they concede. And you look at Lincoln are doing whatever they please with the league, but everyone else, it's almost they're so cautious, and I think that's the reason where every game maybe isn't as fun to watch as it was last year.
Yeah, and I think the fact is with Imps, you know, they know their capabilities, don't they? They know they've got attacking formations, they've got good solid midfield, pretty tidy at the back as well, so they can go out and express themselves. Where other teams are slightly more cautious. I won't say 11 men behind the ball or parking the bus, but it seems it is like that at times. Is that a fair reflection?
Yeah, of course. Credit to Lincoln. For the past few years now, they've almost been a tennis team. You know what I mean? They're always won. Every game it was, you're giving the ball to the centre back, or you're giving the ball to Joseph Cipollina. He's giving a long ball to Lee. 9 times out of 10 he gets the ball, he shoots and he scores. While this year they lost Lee to injury. Their new striker Falu maybe isn't as quick as Lee, but he's great in the air. So obviously that's a different tactic now. Instead of going direct, they can go through the wings. And I think it's Dieguito and they got Anthony Barden on the other wing, and obviously they know what they have to do. They got bags of talent, so Falu is just getting everything in the box. Sorry.
Yeah, but looking at the league table, you know, we've spoke about Imps. You know, they're flying now. You said they're playing tonight, and if they get the win tonight, how many points clear it? Looking like they're going 17? No, yeah, 9 points, 12 points clear. No, I know you're laughing because, you know, I'm kind of thinking, who's going to catch them?
To be honest, I don't think anyone is really. I've been listening to a few people on the radio and talking to a few people in the stadium, and a lot of them have said Lincoln have already won the league. Because when you think about it, I've never seen Lincoln give away such a big lead while I've been watching Gib football. So honestly, I don't expect them to give it away. And looking how the other teams are compared to them, Lincoln are just in a league of their own.
Yeah, but looking at the league tables, St Joseph's, Gibraltar United, Europa, starting to put some good results together now and climbing that league table, but it's probably too much too late as far as the season's concerned now, or you would think so.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think there's any chance of them catching up. You look at St Joseph's, they pick up a few wins, and then all of a sudden they lose to Monscalpe, for instance. Gibraltar United, we all know they're in a tough situation right now. They lost to Glacis, and then they lost to... Who did they lose to? They lost to Glacis, and they lost to...
Well, they got the 2-2 against Phoenix, didn't they, on Saturday evening? But really, you would have expected them to be taking all 3 points from that game.
Yeah, they were 2-0 up, and they were sailing about just past the hour mark. And then their manager just... I don't know what he was thinking. He just thought he'd change things up. Tactically wise, he's not a good manager for me. He brought on 2 defensive players to kind of like calm the situation down, put men behind the ball, see out the last 20 or so minutes, and it just didn't work. It just didn't go for him. Phoenix scored 1. I think it was just after they made a double change, and then after that, Gibraltar United just looked nervous and Phoenix were all over them.
Well, when you start doing things like that, when you start kind of defending with 25 minutes to go, you're asking for trouble, aren't you?
Yeah, and every time he changes tactics or he tries to work around the team, he always messes it up. He did the same against Manchester 62 early on in the season. Gib United had just come from beating Lynx 2-0. They go into the Manchester game. You would have thought they'd win that game, but he changes the formation, he changes the players, and
but why
does he do it? They just didn't look the same team.
Why would any manager want to do that? Because it's the same old kind of statement. But if something's not broken, don't fix it. Why do they feel as if he has to kind of maybe change things up in order, like maybe to justify his position as a manager? If something's not broken, best form of defence has always been attack.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, I think he's tries to teach certain players lessons, to try and like bring them down to earth, try and show them that they're not bigger than the club. But every time he does that, it just backfires on him. So I think he's got to either learn and leave things how they are, instead of trying to make a point that he's bigger than everyone else, because it's not working. And if he doesn't start picking up points soon, I think Michel Salgado is going to be giving him the boot at Christmas.
Well, I think you're right, because someone like Salgado's not gonna sit back, and he's not gonna think twice about giving someone the Evo if it means that the team's gonna benefit going into February and March of next year.
Yeah, of course. And Gibraltar United are in a really good spot at the moment, and the last thing Michel needs is this manager pissing about with the tactics again, and they continue to drop points. And I think it's if he doesn't start changing stuff soon and putting things how they were, he's going to be out of a job.
Yeah. Well, looking at the rest of the league, as we were saying before, Europa, they had a bit of a wobble at the beginning, but they've come good now and starting to pick up some points. Not convincing. They've not been convincing this season, but they are getting some wins, and currently in 4th place. They'll be looking just for a top 3 finish, won't they, this campaign?
Yeah, I'm sure the Europa board kind of know what they want. They've set out some rules, and if the manager doesn't come up with the goods at a certain time, I think he'll be out. You're looking at the reigning champions. You would expect them to be up there with Lincoln, but they've dropped, and I'm pretty sure if they're not playing European football, it's going to be a massive loss for the club, both financially and for the history, really.
Yeah, definitely. And then just below them, I've got to say it, this is my team, Glacis. I told you several weeks ago they were, I know they were just above Lynx when we were chatting. I think it was about week 3, week 4. They were putting some good games in. They weren't getting the rub of the green. They were losing by just the 1 goal. Then they got that fantastic result, and then from there they've just kicked on, and it just seems that the team is just full of confidence now.
Yeah, I don't really know what's happened. We got smashed 4-0 by Lincoln at the opening game, and really I just didn't expect them. I thought that was going to be their season. They were just going to be losing to the big teams, maybe getting a few points with the teams that are more or less near their level, but the manager obviously changed things around. He's put Paul Podesta up front, who's doing well at the moment. He's got a good set of players around him, and now they're picking up points and they're putting in good performances as well.
But that's all you need at times, isn't it, Adam? You can spend the money. You can at any level. You can spend the money. You can bring the players in. You can give players big contracts. But at the end of the day, the team or the squad has got to gel and work together as a unit. And if that don't happen, then you're knackered, aren't you?
Yeah, of course. And Glassie's a prime example of that. I remember just after they lost to Lincoln, a lot of the players were saying they were struggling with the size of the pitch, saying, look, the pitches in Spain aren't as wide as the ones in Gibraltar, so they were struggling with that whole fitness thing. But they've come. Obviously, they've worked around it. They're now doing very well. They've got a few good players. I like their centre attacking mid, Sidi Mahoud. I presume he's Moroccan. I'm not 100%, but he's he used to play in Algeciras, which is a good level of football in Spain, and he's been a delight to watch. And the players around him, we know defensively, Glassies have always been solid. Yeah. The centre partnership between Frank Ano and Danny Herrera, they're Brilliant. Solid. They've got a lot of experience there, so they've got a team with good players. They just need that extra bit, I think, to challenge for a European spot.
Yeah, if they can bring maybe a midfielder in or another attacking forward into the club, then get some more points on the board, and you never know what the season might hold for Glacis. A good run in the Rock Cup would be a good achievement, wouldn't it?
Yeah, of course. I think that's what you would have thought. That'll be the objectives of a few teams now. You see in the league that they don't really have a good chance of doing anything. So I think they'll put 100% into the Rock Cup, because I think that's a good chance for them. Like obviously it's all this cup magic stuff that anything can happen in the cup. And I remember 2-3 years ago, Lincoln got beat 5-1 by St. Joseph's in the cup. It's one of those things where anything can go, and if you're lucky on that day, you get the win and you progress.
Yeah, because the cup, it's all about passion, is the cup, and it's who wants it the most. And usually, whoever does want it the most ends up coming away with the victory. Yeah,
we've seen it over the last few seasons. You look at last season, how Phoenix did. They were a second division team, steamrolling past every second division club, scoring, I think it was 5 or more goals a game. and they literally.
Yeah.
And they came into the Rock Cup and they ended up in the semi-finals, losing out to Europa 2-0. I think they'd beaten Lions, and I'm not sure if they beat another Premier team.
Fantastic.
But still, it was a great accomplishment for them, and I know the club were very happy with it.
Yeah, just quickly looking at the bottom end of the Premier, Lynx, as we know, got off to a awful start. It's not been the best of seasons. Buller coming into the club, we thought everything was rose. We thought it was going to be a new kind of era for Lynx, but it's not turned out that way, and they're trying to settle the ship. They've got a couple of points on the board, but it looks like, well, looking from here, it looks like their season's already over.
Yeah, I think it's between them and Manchester to see who's going to be relegated. They played out a 0-0. I think Lynx had probably the better chances, and you would have expected them to have won the game. I know their centre mid Billy had 2 great chances to score, but he didn't take up his chances. The game ended 0-0, and now they just have to. It's another round before they play each other again.
But we were chatting off air before we came on and did the podcast, chatting about this 2-month break that's coming up. Now, this could be an opportunity. I say that the season's over. Maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh, but there's a 2-month period now for the manager, the backroom staff to maybe regroup, do something different during the 2-month break, bring some new acquisitions into the club, and you never know, they might kick on and do a good second half of the season.
Yeah, I'm sure the majority of clubs, if not all the clubs, have already seen where they need to improve. I'm sure they brought their players, they've already spoke to the players they want, bringing them in, and this 2-month period, like you said, is vital. Yeah. This is where they can kickstart. I know the same was with Lynx and Lions last year. They were doing horrendous going into the Christmas break. Yeah. And then that break, they regrouped, brought players they needed, and then they ended the season on a much better foot. And I think, looking at it, I think Lynx and Manchester are gonna need something if they want to try and avoid relegation.
Because for me, the only team who doesn't want the league to stop is Imps. Because when you're winning games, you just can't wait for the next game to come along. You know, and they could, if they would have carried on, they probably would have had the season wrapped up probably by January.
Yeah, of course, and it'll be very important. It'll be very interesting. Sorry to see how Lincoln do. You know, now there's a lot of pressure on the club. A lot of them feel that they've won the league already. I guess all their players are human as well, so they're gonna have to try and get the match fitness up as well. So the first maybe 3 or 4 games after the Christmas break, we'll have to see how they fare, because if they don't do very well in those 4 games, that gives a chance for other teams to catch up. And I think that's what the clubs are going to want. I think they're going to want the players of Lincoln to struggle trying to get that match fitness up and ultimately give those teams around them a chance to catch up. And I think that's the only way they're going to let the lead slip, because really I don't think Lincoln will slip up at all.
No, but it's an important time for the backroom staff, for the management team, because they've got to try and keep their teams focused during this winter period where they've got a 2-month break. They've got to make sure they're on the ball, they make sure they're eating right, you know, the fitness levels are up, maybe arranging friendly games behind closed doors, maybe going off to places like Spain and Portugal to get some game time in, because you don't just want guys turning up to training, because training's nothing like the real thing, is it?
No, at all. It's going to be difficult. The Spanish teams, their league is still going on, you know, so they're not going to want their players injured just because they want to play a friendly against teams from Gib. So if getting friendlies in Spain, it may be a bit difficult.
What do you think they're going to do then, Adam? What do you think is going to happen in this 2-month period for the clubs? What kind of strategies will be coming up with?
I think it's just going to be maybe 2 sessions a day. I know Lincoln and a few other teams were doing it during the summer, where they were training in the morning and then they were training again in the afternoon. And depending what the teams in Spain say, I think that's the only thing that the teams from here can do, and it's not going to be good on the locals either. You know, again, that's going to be them behind everyone else, because they've got jobs, etc. So they're not going to be able to train twice a day. So I honestly don't know what the teams are going to do. So, but it should be interesting to see what they do, what happens though.
Yeah, be interesting to see what happens when they do come back, and what teams can hit the ground running when Victoria Stadium's back up to scratch. There were the games in midweek. There were some games in the Rock Cup. Some of the second division sides were in action, and one of the teams that were in action was 75 versus Europa Point, and a good win for Europa.
Yeah, I think looking at that game, you would expect that Europa Point to have progressed. They've got some good players with them. I know they welcome back their I think he's English, Ben Edwards, I think it is. I know a few people were talking about him on Twitter. I think Europa Point again, I don't think they've got a good chance of beating any Prem teams. To be honest, I don't think any second division teams do. I don't think they're as strong as they have been over the last few seasons. But I guess we'll have to see. We'll have to watch and find out.
Yeah. Other games going on. Cannons versus Boca. 2-0 to Cannons, and they march on to the next round.
Yeah, the Cannons were the better team, really. Boca's midfield, I think it was Liam Clark versus everyone else. You know what I mean? I think Liam, I've spoken about in other podcasts. He's got huge potential. He's used to play for Manchester and Lincoln Redimps. He's a great player to have in the centre midfield, and he was just doing too much. You know, he'd get the ball, he'd try to do what he could, but the players around him just weren't on the same wavelength. Exactly. And Cannons, we just know they're a very good side right now, and looking how things were, they never really looked like conceding, really.
Yeah. And one man who had a big smile on his face on Tuesday night was Davy Wilson, picking up that 3-1 win against Angels. I saw him in an interview. He's a diddy little thing, isn't he?
Yeah, I spoke to him a few times. He's a
fantastic chap. Yeah.
And I know one of the mates who works with me. He works with me. Went down to cover the game, and to be honest, I was quite surprised Magpies won. I would have expected Angels to give up a bigger fight as they did, seeing how well they've done in the season. But Magpies got up to a fast 2-0 start, and I think it was be very difficult for Angels to kind of turn that around. But well done to Magpies. I know Wilson posted a few tweets online, and he was very happy with the win.
Yeah, he would have been very happy, because looking at the second division, you know, Angels currently in third place, got 12 points on the board, played 6, won the 4, lost the 2, and Magpies below them, 3 places below them. So a good win in the Rock Cup for the Magpies.
Yeah, it's revenge as well. Early on in the season, Angels beat Magpies 3-0. So I think they were looking for some revenge coming into the game, and good on them. See who they get in the next round, because now they're pitted with the other 3 second division teams who got a bye, who are Leo, Hound Dogs, and Olympic, and now they're in the same cup with all the Premier teams. So it should be interesting to see how they match up against maybe a Lynx or Manchester, if they can pull an upset.
Yeah. So has the league campaign finished for the winter period, or is there still a couple of second division games still to play?
Yep. Right now, including today's game, there's 6 left. We got 3 of first division, and we got 3 of second division.
Yeah, because I'm looking at the second division ones, and I believe, is it Hound Dogs versus Olympic on Friday evening?
Yep, on Friday, tomorrow. Not tomorrow, sorry, Friday, yeah. I wish it was Friday tomorrow. Yeah, they're... I think it'll be quite easy. Well, not quite easy. I have to watch my words when it comes to Hound Dogs. I know they like to give me a beasting when they see me, but I think with Olympic they've got a good group of players, but I think they're more individual than they are as a group, and I think that's what the struggles they've had this season. They're so good individually. They got players, good experienced players from the Prem. And I think as a team, they're just not there yet.
So why is that? Are they meeting up? Are they training enough, or is it just sounds like a team of a team of strangers?
I put it down a bit. I'd put it down to strangers. You look at the team, and maybe they're not there yet. You know what I mean? They've got good players, but they just need the manager and his assistant just to
bring it together,
up their game. I think they need to up their game as much as the players, and start getting the players to gel. Because looking at the people they have in their squad, or Lewis has in his squad, they should really be a lot higher up the table than they are.
Yeah, and then we've got Magpies versus 75 on Saturday evening. That's a 4 o'clock kickoff.
Yeah, surprisingly enough, we don't normally get so early kickoffs on the weekend, but I think that should go one way. I think with college there, you're never too sure of how things will turn up on the day, but I think Magpies will be a
bit too strong for them
by their win, and I think they should win it really.
Yeah, well, if the Magpies do win that, it gives them 13 points, and the possibility of going into this winter period sitting in third place. So if the other results go in their favour, so they'll certainly be looking to get the win, won't they?
Of course, they'll be keeping an eye as well on Saturday's game between Angels and Boca. They'd be hoping a draw. I don't think would suit Magpies. I think they'd prefer
either one or the other two.
One team or the other to win, I think, because if you're looking at a draw, both teams go ahead of them, and that sees them drop from third to fifth. So I think they'd be happy with just one of the teams to win. And to be honest, I don't think either team will win. Boca have got a good group of players, but they're not looking like the same side which I saw in the early stages of the season, while Angels are just like Boca. They look like they're slowly crumbling.
Excellent. Well, what will you be up to during the close season? You'll be chomping at the bit. You'll be needing some kind of football fix. How are you going to get through it? How are you going to get through it?
Yeah, me and Dan are already arranging player interviews and basically everything that we haven't been able to do right now. I always like speaking to players, getting an understanding. Yeah. While fixtures how they are, I just don't have time. There's games every single day, and I'm in the stadium nearly every single day, so I can't really do 3 or 4 things at once. So once the season finishes, we've got a good few reviews, player interviews, and again the podcast. See what we're gonna do. Really, that's gonna be difficult.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping that 2018 is going to be a good year for the podcast. I'm hoping to make a few trips out to the Rock and do some player interviews, not just audio, but also visual stuff that we can share on all the different platforms for the Gib Footie show. And hopefully, if I can get the clearance from the league, they won't mind me talking about this because I'm actually putting the proposals forward as we speak. But I'd like to do a couple of live stream games as well and tie that in with the Gibraltar Footie show. So some interesting things planned for 2018.
Yeah, hopefully it can be our year, like you see. But I think I just speak to a lot of guys, and obviously there's a few people who disagree, as we know, as we spoke about over the last week. There's a few people who disagree with what we say, and the players and the people who agree, they're always saying that this is a massive step for Gib football. Yeah. I think this is needed, really.
Well, that's good. There's always going to be people who's going to disagree, Adam. That's football. It's a game of opinions. But at the end of the day, we're just doing our best. We're speaking from our hearts. We're not kind of told what to say, what to do. No. We don't have a script. I don't have a script in front of me. You don't have a script, and we just say as we see it. And if people don't like that, then unfortunately, there's only one thing I can say, and that's tough shit.
They can jog on, no, I guess you could say.
Well, yeah, but I don't want them to jog on. What I want them to do, I want them to come back, and if they want to come on the show and voice an opinion, because it's not just about two guys talking about the Gibraltar footy scene. What I'd like to do is embrace it and allow everyone to have a voice about their football league.
Yeah, of course. We want different opinions from not just the players. We want people watching the football, listening to this podcast.
And that's why I'm hoping that I'll be able to set up the Facebook Live. That's something else I've got planned for 2018 with yourself. And that way we can have live and interactive. So it won't just be a podcast. We'll actually take it live on Facebook Live so that people can watch it and type in as we're actually doing the podcast on the night.
Yeah, of course. I think it's an important thing is that people come to realise that this is not a professional view. You know what I mean? I'm not talking from Adam Roberts from Football Gibraltar. You know.
But what is a professional view? See this kind of. I listen to some pundits on Sky Sports and everything. They're absolutely dire. They shouldn't even be picking a wage packet up. They talk so much shit. So, you know, speaking to someone who's played in the Gibraltar Football League for 20-odd years has probably got a lot more sense than Paul Merson or someone else. I'm just using him as an example. But, you know, everyone's got a voice. Everyone who's played the game, or maybe not even played, maybe just been an observer or a supporter, everybody's got an opinion and everyone's got a voice, and they deserve to have it heard, don't they?
Yep. So if you're
out there
with what we say, you know, there's always a spot.
Of course,
there is.
If you
feel that we're not talking the truth, or our facts are not straight or right, sorry, you can always come on the show and let us know what you think.
Or if you're Brian Clough, what he used to say was, he used to speak to his players, they used to talk for 15 minutes, and then finally decide that he was right all along. So you could come and talk to us, and you'll just decide, you'll realise after 5 minutes that we were right all the time.
Yeah, we'll just say yeah, you're right, and then at the end be like, nah, actually you weren't. Nah. Jokes aside, if you have an opinion, we'd like to hear it. But lastly, just before we finish, I think futsal,
brilliant,
doing well nationally for the first time.
Absolutely brilliant. I was watching some of this, Adam, and 2 victories. You know, it wasn't just a fluke. They did it a second time, and against a nation such as Northern Ireland, who've been playing the game for well over 100 years. Not futsal, that is, but you know, actual football at a top level of the game. And for Gibraltar to get them results, it's amazing, isn't it?
No, it's massive. You look at there's not as much money in it as the GFA put into their senior football team. In futsal, there's not as much money. The standard, I don't know how good the standard is locally. I know the players they bring from Spain. I watch a few games, and some of the Spanish players they bring over are ridiculous. But this is massive. Now it's just see how the Futsal Association build on this. I know when they build the new stadiums, that's going to be big for futsal as well, because right now we've got 2 pitches for 3 divisions. So I think futsal starts at like 9 in the morning and finishes at 9, 10 o'clock at night. So it's non-stop. So hopefully everything comes good for the futsal in the next few years, and they can be competing at the top flight.
Yeah, and when they are playing against teams like Northern Ireland and getting these results, you've got to give a big shout out for these unsung heroes, for the coaches of futsal, the people who give their time up, the referees. As you said, it starts in the morning, goes all the way through to night. Someone's got to look after that game. So the people who are involved in it, from the bottom to the top, you've got to give them a great deal of credit.
No, of course, what they do with the futsal is fantastic. You know, they could easily just cut more divisions down and have less people playing futsal because it'll help the referees, but no, they keep to their guns, and they've just, for the weekend, it's just non-stop. So to those people who maybe don't get as much attention because they're not playing outside, keep doing a job well done, I guess you could say.
Yeah, well, talking of a job well done to you tonight. Because we're just no guests this evening. We did have a few guests lined up, but unfortunately they were delayed and doing other things. But we will have guests next week. We'll also continue to bring you individual interviews as well, won't we, during this close period?
Yeah, hopefully we won't be getting any more last-minute cancellations. So
no.
So we're sorry, but it'll be back to normal next week.
And if we do, we'll always have a plan B.
This time, we will.
Well, same time next week, Adam?
Yep, same time. We bid everyone a good night.
Fantastic. I'll see you next week, buddy.
See you next week, mate.
Embracing the football scene on the Rock of Gibraltar with Adam Roberts and Steve Brown.